All right, so with Litecoin, my SL's roughly down here, like at a 43 and change, 43.80 roughly. We're getting an early bounce here. So this is the 5 minute, and even though I'm talking about a larger trade here on like the higher time frame with the hourly, I'm still factoring in those 15-minute and 5 minute charts. Those scalp charts, lower time frames, are still valuable, and this is why. Like, I can see that we're getting this bounce, right? Where we're getting that reversal on the stochastic oscillator, which is extremely bullish, and that's what I needed to see. That's what I was praying for if I was going to get any bullish action. That's what we needed here, and that's what my entire model for this trade series of trades was based upon. So now if I look at the 15-minute, I can see that we're getting pretty high, right? So pretty soon we're going to have to dip back down, but you can see like here we got a pretty weak dip. We got mostly just sideways action there. Same thing with the Stoke. Here we got a rapid dump back down, but it varies. Sometimes you get those quick dumps. Sometimes it stays sideways for a while and holds. So we're getting pretty high, but then if I dive down another level, I can actually see that based on the 5-minute, we are finishing this little dump, and that was a pretty small one, right? So these 5-minute dumps can be pretty massive, but in this case, it was a very small one. We're already getting an early reversal here. This is a very, very strong bullish sign. This is very, very possible that we're going to hold here and push up higher without correcting much further at all. If we look at the 15-minute, based on the 5-minute, we might get another leg up here based on that 5-minute and push up to maybe even the top where this resistance was before, up to about 44.75, around that area. We might get all the way up there. Now, if I move this resistance up, you'll see it's actually a horizontal support resistance right there. See, we got rejected over here. So if I compensate for that and I draw this triangle like that, we actually have an ascending triangle there, which failed. Now I could theoretically redraw this and make this trend line support, see if it can fit, right? So, because we would need 3 points of contact. See if this works. That actually does fit, right? So totally is viable. So we're going to have to get through that resistance if we even turn bullish. We could still get rejected and come back down. There's no guarantees this is going to remain bullish. Remember, it could go either way. The volume is still really low. We get these bigger, more erratic moves when the volume is higher, so it would be nice to get an increase in volume because we can get a bigger, faster, harder pump. But it also means you can get a more explosive sell-off, right? You can get a big dump if you have that additional volume. So we'll see how this plays out, but so far it's looking bullish. Volume's been declining. Typically what happens when you have that declining volume, the price will decline. So here, right, the volume is going down and the price is going down. Over here, this was during a correction. The volume was going down and the price was going down. And over here, the volume has been trending down, but the price actually has been recovering and going back up, right? It's a good sign that actually indicates a potential reversal. So I'm going to be paying attention to the volume as well. There's a lot of stuff going into this model. It's not just the Stoke or anything else for that matter. It's a lot of stuff at once. Again, 5-minute, getting an early reversal potentially, but we have a lot of strong support from the Ichimoku dynamics. Look at the 222 EMA, really strong support. Also the bottom of the cloud. Here, top of the cloud, bottom of the cloud, right here, strong resistance from the bottom of the cloud, and the 222 EMA providing confluence. So we have the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, in this case, lead span B, and the 222 EMA on the 5-minute chart. I usually don't use the Ichimoku dynamics as much on the 5-minute chart, but sometimes if you're looking at a particular pairing and it happens to be very accurate, you could tell this is a really good one. So we actually can use that as potential support. So we're in a good position here, especially on LTC, more so than the other majors. We're going to have to see if this support down here can hold and we get this reversal on the 5-minute. That would be good because we might be able to get one more push up before that 15-minute reverses. And the key to this whole thing is when we do dip back down based on the 15-minute chart, we want to be able to come down less than we went up, right? And that means you're getting into a bullish trend. If we can push up here before we reverse and get up higher and close higher, that would be a really good sign. Right now, the support we're sitting on is the 55 EMA, and then the top of the cloud and the 99 EMA, and then the trend line support from that triangle. So there are a bunch of supports there to watch, but looking at the 15-minute chart, it's such a tiny move level where every little tiny move is a could make a big difference. You'll drive yourself nuts. So to an extent, it's better to just set your stop loss, walk away, and let the model play itself out and see how that works. We also have the hourly, again, is bullish and crossed over. Now the hourly is going to finish and close in 8.5 minutes, and that's big because right now we're reversing and looking bullish. It's not guaranteed, nothing's confirmed yet, but you could see when you start to get that reversal and you do turn bullish, like here, you can't really see it there. Sometimes you'll get an initial reversal like this, and then you just bounce right back and cross back over, and you keep going down. So it looks like you're getting a bullish reversal, but it's kind of like a fake out. That can definitely happen sometimes. So the fact that we're starting to look bullish now is a good sign, but it's not a guarantee by any means. We could easily close low, and then that crosses right back over and continues with that bullish trend. So we want to be able to close here. I would say it's at 44.25 now. If we can close above 44, that should do the trick. As long as we close above where this candle opened, which was right around 44.02. Looks like we're pushing up a bit. So let me go back down to the lower time frames. Come on. It'd be great if we can get this early reversal in the 5 minute. Worst case, it's going to take 2 more candles. It's going to bounce off of the bottom of the cloud in the 222, but I would really love to see this thing bounce before then, because that would be another bullish indicator if it doesn't have to go all the way down to that support. XLM, I'm actually doing pretty well in this trade now. I think I'm probably going to make this trade risk-free because it looks like it's going to want to correct soon as well. Yeah, the 15's maxing out. We're going to have to come back down and bleed off some of that momentum. The hourly chart is also very bullish, so much like LTC, this is a strong sign. I think I might want to make it risk-free, or potentially, you know what I might do? Instead of making it risk-free, I might just make it insanely low risk by moving my stop loss up to below that 55 EMA, so I would only risk like 0.4%. I have leverage on this trade, so I don't want to get too crazy. And since Bitcoin drives the whole thing, we, of course, have to pay attention to Bitcoin. The trendline support here, or the main horizontal support, is really the key to everything. But you'll notice the falling wedge does work. It's viable. It's not perfect because you have these wicks that pop down, but if you look at the other time frames, you'll see that that was just a quick spike down and came right back up. And that makes it easier to justify invalidating a wick like that, because if it's a quick little wick down and it's not something where there's continuous trading over 2 or 3 hourly candles, then it's not as big of a deal. So if you go all the way down to the 5 minute, you can see it more clearly. If I adjust this slightly, you could even draw it like this and take the rest of this trading and that dip into account. And that's where I can tell that I will invalidate and not consider this quick wick because it's less than a 5 minute chart. That means all of that trading happened within a very, very brief window within a single 5 minute candle. In this case, it continued across numerous candles. So this trading actually matters. This trading doesn't matter below that trend line. So we have the falling wedge, and a falling wedge is obviously a very bullish signal. We know that. It's one of my favorite bullish indicators. So we have the falling wedge. We have the base support here that's been holding extraordinarily well. We have the Ichimoku cloud that's also been working very well on the 15 minute. You can see down here just below that bottom was the bottom of the cloud. And then we have the bottom of the cloud right here, which is holding as a nice dynamic support, pushing us up along that path. So we could very easily break out of this falling wedge, and that'll give us the push we need to get back up and test the top side resistance from our range, our primary range, the horizontal correction range that we highlighted yesterday. So that's at 76.15. We'll get back up there. That'll be an interesting test. We could hit that, get rejected, and come back down, and then we test support before pushing up again. We'll have to see how that plays out. We just need to break out of the wedge first and foremost. If we can get above the wedge and clear this notification trigger I have at 75.30, then we're definitely getting up to 76.15 to the top of that range. And then that's going to be an important resistance, because if we break through, I think it's going to be a big breakout, and if we get rejected, we could still break out, but it's going to reduce our chances. Each time we get rejected from that resistance is going to increase the probability of a dump, so we have to be careful with that. But just like with LTC, the hourly stochastic oscillator is looking very bullish. You can see the same thing as I showed you on the others. Sometimes you get bigger pumps or bigger dumps with these Stoch cycles, but obviously a big pump is going to be ideal. But as long as we go up more than we come back down, we stay bullish. If we go up X and we come down X plus 5, so we're coming down more than we went up, that develops a bearish trend, and we don't want that, obviously. So far we have 2 clean Stochs cycles, or 1 full clean Stochs cycle with a bullish trend beginning, with a lot of potential here. So getting 4 more minutes for the hourly candle to close, and we'll see what's up. I also got a position going on Ethereum. I got in a little later than I did with LTC. Now on this one, it's more of a symmetrical formation with this triangle, but we're still apexing in a consolidated range. So we have not as clean, but you get the point. So in this case, we have a symmetrical triangle, which is, it's a bull pennant, right? So that's actually a strong bullish indicator as well. Bullish formation, bullish pennant. So we could break up from here when you're consolidating within an apex like that. That's a really bullish setup, because the more you consolidate, you get into that tiny space, you're building up that potential energy so you can get that kinetic explosion once you break the top or break the bottom. It could go either way. Technically, a symmetrical triangle like this can go 50-50, but you still got a big breakout when it does break out, whichever way it goes. Since this actually isn't just a symmetrical triangle, but a bull pennant, that does make it bullish, so it's going to lean more towards the bullish side, about a 63% chance of breaking up. But the further we get into that apex, the more likely it is we're going to get a move sooner rather than later. Much like with ascending triangles and descending triangles, it's usually within the second 2/3 of the triangle formation that you get that move, but it's not guaranteed. And I personally, I know the numbers say that, and that's what the statistical probabilities are based on the data. I actually like when you consolidate within that apex. When you get within that apex and you're getting rejected and bouncing off of the support to resistance rapidly, that it just gets exciting, and I feel like that usually brings me higher returns and a bigger breakout. So we'll see. The good thing about it is when you have an uptrending trend line support like this, as you're moving up and building more support beneath you with that trend line, you can move your stop loss up progressively to lock out more risk or to lock in more profit. So that's another good thing about a formation like this. You're getting some bullish potential just by moving along that way. This does look better than even the Ethereum and Litecoin. I love that the Stochs has already crossed over more. And we very well may close in 1 minute and 20 seconds and maintain this bullish heading. Again, you can reverse. It doesn't have to sustain that bullish heading once it crosses, but when you have a really clean Stochs cycle like this, usually you're going to get 2 or 3 Stochs cycles in a row that are equally as clean. Look what happened here. We had this messy zigzag, right? But then we had a nice smooth Stochs cycle, and that kept for a while, right? 6 or 7 cycles in a row. Same thing over here. We had this rapid jigsaw movement, then we settled in. After this rapid move, we settled in, got a nice clean move for 2 cycles. Same thing over here. We had a lot of erratic movement, and then a nice clean Stochs cycle. Erratic movement, nice clean Stochs cycle, smooth moves. Same thing here. And that happens pretty often. You could tell that's pretty much what's going on right now. We had this crazy back and forth. It wasn't really clean at that point. It was hard to predict what was going to happen based on the stochastic oscillator, and now we're settled in and we have that nice clean smooth movement on the oscillators, and that's always a good sign. That means you're settling into to stability, and when you get into a stable trend like that, it's much easier to predict what's going to happen because you don't have as much conflicting data sets to work with. So that's Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't look as bullish as the others, like I said. It's hovering right around where I entered, which is pretty much right here. And let's see. Nothing's really changed on this guy. We just hit 10 o'clock, so let's see what happens with this next candle. It could be a big move right away on this candle, so I'm excited to see what's happening. Hopefully we get the bullish move. Well, so far it is red. I really want to get above this falling wedge. If we can get above that trend line resistance, that would be huge. That would be a really, really important move if we can just break out from there. This creates some conflicting formations as well, but we actually have a little uptrend here, so sort of like with that other formation, you get an apex here, and as you get rejected from resistance and bounce up from support, you're building up that potential energy. So once you do finally break out, it could be a big one. I just hope it's to the top side. If it does break out to the bottom, I'm going to take a loss, but it won't be that big of a loss because I have a nice tight stop loss. I'm protecting myself. I'm ensuring that I'm not overexposed, so I'm not going to lose a shit ton of money. God forbid it does break down, but if it does break up, I can make a lot of money because I have a well-placed leverage position where I have a tight stop loss to the downside, but nothing but potential on the upside with 10x leverage too. Now, let me just check something. Yeah, this is all positivity. There's really no downside to this for me. All right, well, I'm going to let you guys go. This isn't a live stream, but I'm going to be posting this in a second, so you'll see all this stuff. Hopefully it's not too late by then. You know what? I'm going to shut this down and upload it right now because I want you guys to see this right away just in case some of the stuff I just discussed ends up being relevant now.